I'm going to make an investment, a six-figure investment, that's going to help me generate millions of dollars. That's a mindset shift, right? And so that is echoing something that one of our clients said. I'm going to invest a six-figure salary, but it's going to help me make millions of dollars. Can you say that about your business? Maybe, maybe not. Welcome to CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Mabra. It's time to show up as a confident leader to create a practice and life you love. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. It is Brandy Mabra. And today's conversation is all about you getting more time back on your calendar, being able to grow your profit, and be able to have more impactful leaders inside of your practice. So last week, I talked a little bit about what happened inside of our Scottsdale, Arizona retreat and just the amazingness of getting your leadership teams and your team to think like a CEO. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about the alignment that is so important between you and your leaders. Just a quick, kind of reminder. So as a CEO, when we think about you and your purpose is there to give the vision. Like, where is the ship headed, right? Like, where are we going? So your job is truly just to paint that picture for your team so your team can have buy-in, they can have engagement, they can understand where the ship is headed, they can self-elect to stay or they can self-elect to leave. And so your job truly is that vision. When you have a leadership team, your leadership team, it's also like they're echoing that vision and they're echoing that mission and they're echoing the purpose for why the practice exists. When there is not that full alignment or your team doesn't understand, or if your team doesn't agree, specifically your leadership team, then that's not a good place to be. And so if you are sitting there with actual leaders and you are wondering, how do I lead through leaders, which is a skill set. It is a skill set. A lot of times people think like, oh, I've hired all these people. And then you get a leader and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. It's different. It's different from when you actually have a team member who is actually more or less like an owner or a doer. They're just doing tasks, or you've hired them specifically to take on something, compared to when you have a leader and you actually have to lead the leader so the leader can lead. It's a skill set, and a lot of people don't understand why it's not working, or why I have this person with this title and they're not doing the job that I hired them to do, or they don't think like me. They don't think like me. They don't move as fast as me. And all of this is very common. So I've been there, done that, have the t-shirt. I've had a lot of leaders who I've had the privilege of being able to work with, being able to mentor and lead. And it is a true skill set. And so if you are not prepared, or it feels harder than actually just having the team that you had before, you're not alone. You're not alone. And it's also important for you, again, the alignment piece. So if you were in process of even hiring, I always like to start first with baseline. Hiring a leader, and you do not find the right leader, do not hire out of desperation. Just sit tight. Like, sit tight until you actually have the person who is in alignment with your mission, with your vision, is excited about it, because you need them to show up with that type of energy every single day. So if they don't understand it, or if they're not excited about it, then they can bring down a whole organization because they don't believe in what you're building. So it's a problem if your leadership team is not in alignment. I cannot say that enough. So what happens when you have a great leadership team? Right? What happens when they are on board, when they are a strong leader, when you have actually invested in a leader that can take things off of your plate? The number one thing that you will see is you'll get more time back on your calendar, 110%. And when they are not helping you, then you are working all the hours, all the days, and you're just paying a really expensive salary for somebody. Also, too, your profit grows, which sounds weird, because I've taken on this whole additional person. I've taken on this whole additional salary, which a lot of times when you have a really good leader, it's a good six-figure salary. In some cases, it can even be a multiple six-figure salary. And it sounds like, well, no, I can't make more money and pay a multiple six-figure salary or six-figure salary. And that's not true. So with the right leader, you can actually increase your revenue by millions of dollars. And I'll say that again. You can increase your revenue by millions of dollars. And because you can increase your revenue by millions of dollars and you can leverage that leader, you're getting more time back on your calendar, you actually will become more profitable. But you have to have the right leader. So inside of Private Practice CEO, what we're doing with our clients is we're implementing what's called the Freedom Formula. The Freedom Formula is my signature methodology, and there's 5 areas that we're looking at. And so we are looking at vision, making sure that you are showing up with a clear vision. We're looking at your workflows, making sure that they are flowing so that way your team is productive, you are productive, you're getting more time back on your calendar. We're looking at the culture of accountability, which is super important. A lot of times the struggle is not because of the team, it's because you are wavering on holding the team accountable. People will implement systems all day. We have a system for that. Or are you holding your team accountable to following that system, whether if it's a policy and procedure, SOP, or an expectation that you've set a behavior? So the culture of accountability is super important. Also, we're paying attention to team synergy, right, which is a whole area. So making sure that the team is functioning well together, that they are engaged, that they are definitely helping move the practice forward. I'm a big believer in the intrapreneur, and I don't think people talk about that enough, but we should probably actually do like a whole episode on just the intrapreneur. But like when we think about a true team member that has buy-in for an entrepreneurial type practice, it's the entrepreneur who doesn't necessarily want to go and open up their own business, but they want to maybe make more money, or they want to feel more purposeful in their life, or they want to be able to contribute to something that's bigger, right? And so when you have a team, when we think about the team synergy, that is coming up with creative ideas or can bring solutions to problems and really showing up as leaders and owners within a practice, then that's priceless, right? So we're looking at team synergy and making sure that all of our clients are hiring and scaling their practices with attention and strategy, especially when it comes to the team. And then the last thing that we're looking at is profitable metrics. And so with profitable metrics, obviously, we want you to have profit inside of your business. So we're making sure that you're monitoring the metrics that matter. And there's a lot of metrics. Like if you look at any business, there's so many metrics. I was talking to an accountant yesterday, and there's so many metrics that you can pay attention to. And especially as the business gets bigger, it becomes more important for you to be selective about, okay, what metrics really are moving the needle within the practice. And it's not all of them. Sometimes you don't need to look at 15 metrics. Sometimes you just need to look at a good 3 or 5 in order to make sure that the ship is actually moving in the right direction. So the Freedom Formula is what we implement all day, every day. It took a minute for me to realize, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like our clients are showing up with more structure. They're showing up feeling better about their practices, even when changes happen. They're having mindset shifts. Even at our last retreat, one of our clients kind of dropped a bomb on saying, like, I just hit 7 figures. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a second. So she was really close, but she officially hit it. And that was so exciting just to hear. They're getting more time back on their calendar, how they're looking at their business. So we even had the episode with Crystal Jackson, and she's traveling. That's part of her self-care inside of her business as she's scaling. So freedom is your own definition, and how you view freedom is of your own definition. But the formula is very, very intentional with how we are implementing it in order to make sure that our CEOs have the structure that they need, that they feel good, that, again, more time back on your calendar, getting you out of the weeds of your practice, and also helping you make more money. So what happens when you get more time back on your calendar and the alignment happens? You take vacations and you show up for your family and you get to enjoy life. You're not just at the desk of doom and gloom and tired and burned out. And I'm not saying this is what I don't want. I don't want to paint this picture of, well, every day, because I'm a private practice CEO, is sunshine, roses, and unicorns. Another award that we gave out at the retreat was the resiliency, the CEO Resiliency Award. And with that, there is a certain tenacity and audacity and just pure faith that you have to show up in when you're building a business. And some seasons are just hard. And some seasons are there where you just want to throw in the towel. I'm done. I'm finished. This is crazy. But the resilient CEO is the one who realizes there is a mission that God has called me to do. There is a vision that I have been divinely given and I have to show up for it, but I'm going to make sure that I am set up. So this is not about pushing through and not listening to your body or listening to your mind. I don't believe in that. But what this is about is recognizing this is a hard season. I'm learning some really tough lessons and I'm being molded into something bigger, right? And so during this time, I'm going to make sure that I'm setting myself up, and I'm going to make sure I have the support that I need, that I have the community that I need, that I am purposefully pouring back into myself. And so when we think about what happens when you are in alignment so closely, then amazing things happen, right? So you're able to navigate some really challenging times. You're able to navigate really beautiful times. You're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor because you're putting in the work, right? So it's really fun just to watch when everything kind of comes together and things are, again, strategy and intention are like my two favorite words in business. Well, a third one would be vision. Yeah. So vision, strategy, intention are my three favorite words when it comes to business. A true success story, there's so many. I mean, there is like we have screenshots on screenshots. I mean, there's, even if you go to my website, there's a whole page of success stories. There are podcasts now at this point in time of success stories. But I would say a big success story is I just talked about the client who just hit 7 figures, with more time back on the calendar. She's now mentoring her leadership team. Another success story is where just being able to close the laptop for 2 weeks and having the business be able to run. Another success story is I have so much free time on my hands, I don't know what to do with it. I feel weird. Another success story is a client, we were in Grand Cayman, talked to her husband, said, I can't believe this is our life, and so it's intentional. Again, this isn't because things are all perfect. There are still things that people are navigating inside of their businesses, but the perception and the reframes and the mindset of how they're showing up to it is different. That's really the true success story, is the mindset reset and the mindset shifts and the identity shifts for when you're building something bigger. It's next level problems, right? So there are like the problems that just feel so like, oh my gosh. And then there's problems of, oh, I'm going to make an investment, a 6-figure investment that's going to help me generate millions of dollars. That's a mindset shift, right? And so that is echoing something that one of our clients said. I'm going to invest a 6-figure salary, but it's going to help me make millions of dollars. Can you say that about your business? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just really fun. Like, it's fun to watch the transformations. It's fun to be in the orbits of our clients. It's fun for me just to see even how their leadership teams change and how they grow and mature and all the things as they're working within the practice. So if you are in a place where you're struggling inside of your practice, especially when it comes to leadership, when it comes to leading teams, if you are trying to figure out, what do I do with this P&L that I get? Or if you're just like, I know money's coming in, I just don't know where it's going. If that's your situation, or I have all these people, I don't know what to do with them. Or I'm getting all these questions, or I really would love to be able to take a vacation, or I'm tired of working all these hours. I want to be able to see my family more. I want to be able to spend more time with my friends. I want to be able to take a vacation. All those things. Then Private Practice CEO is your answer, 110%. So inside of Private Practice CEO, we do deep work. Deep work. We look very closely at your business when it comes to your marketing. We look at your team dynamics. We implement the freedom formula. And again, we make sure that you are able to get more time back on your calendar, get out of the weeds, and make more money. I think that's just the best way for me to describe it, because that's what happens inside the program. So if you're interested, see the show notes. Or if you're watching on YouTube, then go ahead and see the description box and apply. apply. Apply after you fill out the application. You're able to set up a call. I'm very honest about whether or not I think this will be a good fit for you. I tell people all the time, maybe this might actually be a better coach for you outside of being inside a private practice CEO. So go ahead and apply. We'll set up a call. We'll talk about it and we'll make sure it's a good fit or it's not a good fit. Either way, you'll walk away with some really great gems, even if you get on the call. So I think that's it for today. So I will talk to you guys next time and have a great day. Bye. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and it empowers you as the CEO of your practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, share the message, and leave a review. If you want more information and support in growing and scaling your practice, click the link in the show notes to take advantage of our free resources or apply to work with me directly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.